Hello, welcome to the first episode of Pouring Out My Thoughts, where every week you can sit and just listen to me talk about whatever's going on in my head, whatever I've been thinking about, um, while I try and figure out life, I guess. Um, I'm going to try my best to stay as anonymous as possible. So for now, you can call me HJ. Um, those are not my real initials for anybody who would think that I would actually do that if I'm trying to stay anonymous. But yeah, I'm just looking for a little bit of an outlet, and hoping that maybe there's someone else who thinks about some of the same things that I do or could understand why my brain works the way that it does. So, yeah, every week I'll probably be here for about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll see. It's very much just me hitting record and letting the words flow. Um, if you hear certain little noises in the background, I have two cats, um, and sometimes they like to cause a ruckus. So my fellow cat moms out there know. Um, but this will be hosted on a network that I'm calling the Finding Her Identity Network. And really, that just means um, figuring out who I am as a woman, and specifically a Black woman, through God, through experiences, through community, and through solitude, just being by myself. Um, and experiencing life through the eyes of a Black woman and seeing what that means to me. And as a mother now, also learning who I am in that vein, in that position, just trying to understand myself as much as possible. And sometimes you learn a lot about yourself just talking, because you'll hear yourself say something, you're like, oh, I didn't know that about myself. And that's kind of the goal through this podcast and any other projects that I have coming out in the future. But today I'm going to just start out by telling y'all something I was thinking about last week. So I have been watching the Reliving Single podcast, which I highly recommend, but it's hosted by Erica Alexander and Kim Coles, and they're basically rewatching Living Single for the first time after about 30 years. And they're going through each episode and talking about some things we didn't know about the show and just some of their own personal experiences, on and off the set, and how kind of some of those themes from the show still live on today and how they impact modern day. And so, one of the episodes, they were talking about Black love on TV. And if you've seen Living Single, you know that one of the most well known relationships and the most constant relationship you see is between Overton and Sinclair. They have a very, very healthy relationship. They have their problems, but they deal with it in a very healthy way. And you know that if you watch any other Black TV, we only see Black love through this like toxic kind of love where it's like, I'm not good for you, you're not good for me, but we'll stay together. And it's not very portrayed very well. And they were talking about older shows that had a good Black love, where the husband loved his wife with everything in him, or the wife loved her husband with everything in her. And some of the examples that they used was on Good Times with Florida and James, and then they also used Winnie and George from the Jeffersons. And it got me thinking about this one episode on the Cosby Show where Cliff wanted to reenact or go back to one of their first dates. I think it was their first date or their first anniversary, I'm not sure. But they were celebrating their 27th anniversary, and he wanted to recreate one of their dates that they had that meant a lot to them. where they went to this Caribbean restaurant and they had this kalaloo, I think I'm saying that right, for their meal. And so, some way, somehow, even though the restaurant was closed down, he got in contact with the chef from back then. And he was going to have the chef come to the house and make the same thing they made that night. And the chef had decided to go vegan and was like changing out ingredients and all this stuff. So he called Elvin over, which is Sandra's husband. He called Elvin over to make sure he didn't put any vegan stuff in there and wanted to make it exactly right, because if you don't know, Elvin was Caribbean. I think he was one of, I couldn't remember, but remember his last name was Thibodeau. So but he had Elvin over there making sure he was doing right. He even commissioned the kids to kind of decorate the dining room to make it look like that island feel. I remember Theo walking in with this huge surfboard looking thing. And I'm like, what are you going to do with that? He was going through all these hoops and doing all this stuff to try and make sure it was perfect for Claire when she came home. And throughout the episode, you kind of see him cough here and there, or he'd go into these little fits of coughing. And they're checking on him like, oh, you're all right, you're all right. He's like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine. But by the end of it, he actually ends up getting very, very sick. And Claire comes home and finds him on their bed, lying down, and you can tell he had been sweating. And he is just like poor little Tink Tink for real. Like, he looked awful. And he wakes up and sees that she's there, and he just feels so guilty because he was like, I really wanted this night to be special for you, but I'm just so I'm like not here right now. He's just not doing well. And just to hear in his voice that he wanted to make his wife feel so loved and cared for, and he did all this stuff and he could not be there for her. Every single time I watch that episode, I cry listening to that part. I cry every single time. And afterwards, she ends up going down into the dining room that's decorated beautifully, and the food is all done. And she sits there and she eats the meal by herself. And every single time I watch that, I cry, because it's just so heartfelt. Like, when you really think about that relationship, mind you, they had, like, this was their 27th anniversary. They had been together for 27 years. They have had 5 children at this point, 2 grandchildren, or a third if you count Olivia. Um, and they were just in love. Like, they loved each other so strongly that he was so willing to do whatever it took to make sure that his wife was always taken care of, that his wife still felt special through all these years. And even when he could not be there for her, he felt awful. He felt so bad, and he really wanted his wife to still feel special. And I think that's the thing, just being together for that long and still wanting to make sure you're dating your spouse, making sure they're still feel special, just like the day that y'all met from the very beginning. Because there's this idea that after you're together for so long, that spark kind of phases out. Like, we're together now. I don't have to make you feel special. We're together now. I don't have to jump through these hoops anymore. And I would argue, no, that's not the case at all. When you're in a relationship, um, I don't think that love is as much of an emotion that people think it is. I think it's an action. Like, you have to choose every day to love this person and do all the things that means or that shows that you love them, showing them that you care for them. And in the Black community, we are portrayed as people who are not able to be in these healthy relationships. We also have a lot of these traits that have been passed down, that we don't have to do certain things for each other. We don't have to stay together. We don't have to work through hard times. We don't have to um, do what it takes to stay together. And I'm not saying, like, if the relationship is bad, the relationship is bad. Y'all need to move on. But sometimes I feel like people um will ignore certain things, or they will misconstrue, that's what I'm looking for. They'll misconstrue certain things as something else, instead of looking at it for what it is and realizing, oh, I just need to work on this. Like, say, for example, you're in a relationship with your partner and y'all are having a bit of a miscommunication. Like, y'all don't really understand each other. And instead of learning how to communicate effectively with each other and learning each other's languages, and I'm going to derail for just a second. I feel like everyone has their own language that is stemmed from how you were raised, well, how you grew up, and the things that have pulled around you to make you who you are in this time. And so you kind of form your own language of how you understand the world and how you interact with the world. And you come meet someone else who's from a completely different area in life and has their own experiences. And you're two people who are very different coming together. Um, and you kind of have to learn how to interact with each other. You have to learn how to speak those languages. And if you're having a miscommunication, instead of just learning to understand each other, there are people who will just be like, oh no, she's just not a good person. She's just not a good person, or he's just not a good person, or he just doesn't respect me, or she just doesn't listen to me, or whatever it is. And really, the issue is y'all just don't want to take the time to learn how to learn each other or learn how to speak to each other. And maybe you have to do your own reflection. Maybe you have to learn how to communicate a little bit better. Maybe you have to um, realize that not everybody can receive information the way that you give it, you know? And I feel like that's one of the things that is required when you love somebody. When you choose to love somebody, that means you are willing to do the work. And before I got married to my husband, actually, before we were like really together for a long time, I think this was like one of the first year of us being together. I was talking to my mom, and one of the things that she told me, she was like, when you get married, really the only thing you need is to answer these questions. Like, if, and I might be butchering this, if she hears this, she gonna correct me. But basically, to answer this question, if knowing, would you be willing, knowing everything that you know about this person, the good, the bad, the ugly, knowing everything that you know about this person, and knowing everything that you know about yourself, would you be willing to do the work and to stay with them for the rest of your life? If you know the absolute worst thing about this person, if you know the absolute worst thing about yourself, are you still willing to do the work to and stay with this person for the rest of your life? And if you're not willing to do that work, if you're not willing to be committed, then the answer is no. You don't marry this person, because marriage is a lifelong commitment, and that I believe anyway. Because some people will just see it as a sheet of paper, and while you can view it that way, I feel like it's a covenant between you, your spouse, and God, saying that we are choosing to stay together through whatever it is, no matter what. Now, sometimes I feel like people just be marrying people and they should not be. Like they'll be marrying people for the money, or they're marrying people just to say I'm married. And I'm like, or they'll marry for religious reasons, like um, they're being told that they have to, or being married because it's time to get married. And people really will waste their own time doing stuff like that, or they'll waste other people's times, or they'll end up hurting themselves. Um, I wish I could remember the name, but there was this couple that had this big old, I guess, controversy, I guess. I don't know. Um, they had been married for a lot of years. And child, when I tell you they should not have been married at all, because that man did not even like her. He did not like his wife at all, and kept saying that. Like, he talked about her so dirty, y'all. Like, did not care. He did not care about this woman. He really only married her because of the familial pressure that he had and that she had. And she liked him. She wanted to be with him, but he did not want her. And y'all, the way that he talked about this woman, and she was just taking it like, this is what it is. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, oh, poor baby. Like, no, sweetie, that you don't have to take that. And I just can't imagine being in that position. I understand it, like, as in, like, on the outside looking in, I can understand why some people would end up in those situations just because of either low self esteem or, um, well, really, it's one of the biggest things. Like, you don't feel any self worth, or you're constantly being told that your worth is in a man, and which is just not the case at all whatsoever. And so you kind of tend to see women in these positions where they're just, their whole identity, their whole self worth, their whole everything is whether or not they are married and with a man. And I'm just like, you will ruin your life that way. And it's so upsetting to see. Um, and I even seen some people, it's also, I think it's very common for for people to get married because they have children. And yes, I 1000% believe that children deserve a two-parent household. Like, they, if anything, I feel like they need that. Because it shows them a lot of things. One, it can show them a lot about themselves when they become adults, like how to have a relationship with somebody, not just romantic relationships either, but how to be in a relationship with someone, how to communicate with people. It teaches them how to respect other people. Like, viewing how your parents interact with each other can really guide how you view relationships when you become older. And so, yes, I agree with that. However, if y'all are not meant to be together, if y'all are not good together at all, you are doing more harm than good staying together, or and even getting married, for the sole purpose that y'all have children. I think it's worse to do that. Like, I don't believe in staying together just for the children, because I feel like that does more harm than good. And this is coming from someone who, um, my parents, my mom and my biological dad, they were never married. But my mom and my stepdad were married, and they were together for about maybe 10 or 11 years, something like that. Half of my childhood. And I remember, I have very vivid memories of them not being good together, or how they spoke to each other, or how he spoke to my mom, or my mom reacted to him. And it has traumatized me, and very much gave me a very tilted view of men, um, and how I'm supposed to respond to it. And it led me to have some very questionable relationships throughout my teens, and put me in not so safe environments, with when it came to men and boys. And especially, this is around the time where I was getting on social media a little bit more. I'm not very old. I was born in 99. But um, I didn't, social media wasn't like, I started getting on social media when it started getting like really, really big. Um, like, it was starting to grow. And I remember getting on certain things and talking to certain men, because I was looking for a lot of the things that I did not get, and also did not see my mother get. And so you kind of get to a point where it's like, you do whatever it takes to get that love, that respect, that joy from some other man, and you're never going to get it doing the things that I did, putting yourself in very questionable positions. Um, but I don't know. I just went on the longest tangent, and I I think just thinking about how my relationship is now as a black woman married to a black man, and we have a black son. And I am emphasizing black for a very specific reason, because we are already painted with a stereotype just because of how we look. And I don't want to be that. I want to be the wife that comes home to a, a recreation of a first date that we had, but oh no, he ends up getting sick. Like, that kind of love, you know? Um, and that sits with me. And even with me rewatching Living Single and watching the Living Single podcast, seeing the relationships that they have on there, it's something special that I'm glad was on TV. And I so wish that there was more of that now. I don't watch a lot of predominantly black TV shows now because they all kind of portray the same thing. If you have any recommendations on like a good a good non-toxic black love TV show, please let me know, or just one that portrays black love in a positive way. Because if it's a romance thing, I'm probably not gonna watch it. I don't really like that. But if it's a show that has black love in it, I'm here for that. Um, but yeah, I really I really think that um in this age where we are talking about a lot of things and feeling a bit more free to talk about a lot of things, I feel like there will be a shift on how relationships are portrayed and how they are executed, I guess is the best word I can think of right now. Um, because if you go on social media and you just type in, you can type in anything: black love, black relationship, black man, black woman, and see all this stuff about how the relationships are. And there are some trifling people out there, but there are also some great people out there having some great conversations and pointing out the things that we need to talk about. And I feel like the more conversations we have about this, the more awareness that we create when it comes to this, we can turn the tide. We can change how things are, um, because the enemy loves silence, loves it, because in silence things just happen. Things get scooted by. Bad things continue to happen because nobody's calling them out, and we really need to start calling these things out. And that's not me blaming everything on the enemy, because sometimes it just be y'all, sometimes it just be us. It really do just be us. Um, but even still, like if you see relationships where they're isolated and they don't go nowhere, they don't talk to anybody, those can be some of the most dangerous places to be in, because a lot of bad things can happen in that house. Like the whole what happens in this house, stay in this house. Absolutely not. That is like one of the most dangerous things. And for a period of time, my mom used to tell us that. Thank God she got out of that. But that is a very dangerous place to be, because whatever's not talked about will continue to happen. And we don't want that. So I feel like when it comes to your black relationships out there, make sure you have a community, make sure you have other men, other women, and make sure these are people who are have kind of the same mindset as you. If you are someone who wants a godly relationship, seek godly advice, because you don't want someone telling you certain things that don't really align with what you do anyway, because then, or what you believe anyway, because then it might tilt you in a different direction that you don't want to go. And I'm not necessarily saying bad or good, but just if you want to stay on a certain path, then listen to the people that are also going on the path with you. But my whole point is to make sure you have some community. Don't isolate yourself. Make sure you have some good men and women around you. Married couples, talk to other married couples, young and old, um, single people. Talk to other people who are on the same track as you. It's like if you are talking to someone, like say for instance you are trying to go somewhere, right? And you're in a car, you are driving your car somewhere, but you are getting advice from someone who never leaves the house. You are trying to get directions from someone who never leaves the house. How is that really going to work? How are they really going to direct you to go somewhere if they've never left the house? If they stay in the house all the time, they don't know the streets, they don't know the names, they don't know where to turn. They can send you halfway in a different direction. So you want to make sure you're listening to some people that are on the same track as you. Don't listen to people Like, don't get financial advice from somebody who never has a dollar, you know? Um, I mean, they can tell you how to lose it if you want to know that, but make sure you're getting your advice from the right places. Um, but yeah, that was kind of my tangent for today. Just a little bit on Black love. Um, if there's something that you want to bring to my attention that you think I'd have a little bit of a thought on, because I am very opinionated. Um, I have a lot of opinions on a lot of different things. I can foresee a lot of episodes coming out of this because I feel some types of way about a lot of things. I think next week I'm going to talk about Sinners because I love Sinners so much, but some of those characters piss me off to my core and it infuriates my soul. Like, I feel things, I'm very passionate with my opinions. So if you have some good stuff, let me know because I would love to give y'all my 2 cents because I also love to talk. Um, but yes, this was kind of fun. I didn't realize I had just started talking and talking. Imagine I'm in here by myself, just sitting here. Um, but yeah, let me know if y'all have any things you would like to hear. If you have any questions for me, I'm almost an open book. And I say almost because some things ain't y'all business, because they mine. Um, but yeah, I will see you guys, or y'all will hear me next week. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, you can put them in the comment section. You can like and subscribe so you are ready for when the next episode comes out. I'm going to try and release at least once a week. Um, but yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in with me, and